first poem I'm going to do is called Gas Mask. She wore her wedding veil like a gas mask. Santo Espiritu, Santo Espiritu. Her mother's prayers wrapped like a ringworm around her finger, the circulation of her lips cut off. Her nails shred the stitching off the manila bedsheet as her fingers pull themselves out of their sockets one by one. She stretches her veins like they were rubber bands she could rip out of skin. The lampshades burned holes into her corneas that night. She lay numb as she watched the ghost of a man violently thrust its pelvis into the ceramic plates hung on the walls, but the hooks hung inside of her canal. Watching it hump was like watching the head of a rusty nail being hammered deeper into the urethra. The walls cried with paint thinner. Even the room begged to scrape off its skin. Christ pulled the cherry out of her hymen and let it roll into the ocean, ruffled on the bed. Hymns hummed like horror stories throughout the night. Lace weaved into the mesh of her imprint. She was molested in her wedding gown. Mija, espérate para tu amor. Dios will give you love. Mama, mama, love is tucked away with my husband, ducked and torn and stretched, his head packaged like saran wrap. Do you? Selena Sanchez. Take Carlos Luis Vohan as gunshot. The bride flings a bouquet of bullets. They toss lead like rice. The guerrillas come and tear down her white wedding. They teepee the church with fire. They rush her into the corridor, drag her train down the aisle. Her roots ripped out like suction cups. The legs of the cathedral uprooted from the ground. Stained glass pours from the ceiling like watercoloring. God cries in 50 shades of red. There's a broken crown suspending from the ceiling. The thorns drop like spikes of ice. The court scatters and screams as they drag down her legs like tulip birds. She can picture her mother's tongue dancing with gospel hymns. Adios, they drag her in. Adios, hemline mesh with hemorrhage. Adios, when her head has finally broken off from thumping across the church ground like a skipping stone. They will reach the back room. Her garter will be used to blindfold her eyes, and very painfully, they will wind inside of her vagina like a magical music box and ride the carousel for a few times. She will probably cling to the ivory in her dress, breathe deeply into her gas mask and pray that her mother didn't have something to do with this. Her eyes unbolt to find the clock blinking. It's 6 a.m., 4 hours before her wedding. Mija, ¿por qué te quedas dormida en tu wedding dress? Last night, when she lay down to sleep, she wore her wedding veil like a gas mask, her gown like a shroud, and her dreams like a horror film religion invented. She blames her mother. It was the day after the world died. God came and ripped the power out. You told me you felt drained. I asked you what it felt like to let 7 billion souls slip from beneath you, you said. He had been preparing our bodies for this type of damage. That we would be like Noah hiding underneath the ground while he swept his kin into the clouds and used chunks of their brassy bodies to sound off the last trumpet. I ripped your arm from its socket and said, "Baby, Maybe I'm so scared of being swallowed by darkness. Your fingers, like thumbtacks down my forehead, you held my lids down and said it would be best if I didn't open them for a while. I asked, is this what it feels like to die? You said no. No, 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 this is what it feels like to be alive, Shayna. God left us in this crater to repopulate the earth. Then why does my body feel so empty? I had never carried children before. Who was this man to leave me on a broken globe to suffer while I was expected to carry wilted seeds in my stomach? Don't you know the fetus needs light? The placenta will deflate before their tiny bones even begin to harden. For an eternity, I will suffer. My queen, we have been suffering our whole lives, crouched down, cooing on our knees, with our hands like aircrafts, prayers parachuting like missiles, and at the corners of our fists begging to be plucked from our pores, to be carved out of the carnal costume that sticks to skin, because we have been fleshy for so long in each other's arms. He has offered us extinction to recreate good. You see, he brought me on top of a mountain to reveal to me a vision. There were lions dressed in war paint, blowing body parts off of Middle Eastern limbs. Black-mouthed mambas on neighborhood corners spewing up venom. Tarantula deities tap dancing on tombstones of elementary school children. Oppression, oppression, oppression. And then it was just you and I. Yeah, there was this real loud explosion and finally silence. God came and he offered us a covenant. He said, if I promise to love your body like a religion, then from our ribs will come children, pure and innocent like nothing before, like this perfect crystal that can never crack in the core of God's eyes.